Today I'm going to demonstrate how to use Excel in order to perform the calculations that you're working with this week, dealing with measures of central tendency. So I've listed several measures up here, and I'm going to show you how to use Excel functions in order to quickly calculate those. And I've just set up some data here. I'm just calling it stuff in cells A2 through A19. For those of you unfamiliar with Excel, what I did here was I positioned my pointer with my cursor on cell A2, and then I held the left mouse button down and I just dragged down, and what that does is select the entire range. That is called a range, and we're going to use that selection technique as we calculate these values. So the first thing I want is the mean of the data that's sitting in those cells. The mean it's another word for average. In statistics we call it the mean, but it's really the average of the data. And there is an Excel formula. I'll click on formulas, a whole bunch of categories there. We want statistical, so we have to click on more functions and then on statistical. And as soon as we do that, it brings up a huge list of statistical functions. The one we want for the mean is average. So I'll click on average, and now a nice box opens up and it asks me what is it that I would like to average. So I'm going to come over here and do what I did before. I'm going to click on A2 and drag down, and notice as I do that, this little box is populating with the range that I just selected, A2 through A19, A2 colon A19. So I'll click OK, and sure enough, there it is. The mean of that set of data is 36.61. Now, the next measure of central tendency that you're going to work with is median. The median is simply the middle element in the ordered data set. Now, this data set is not ordered. You can see that at a glance. But we don't have to worry about that, because part of the median formula that Excel provides us with is that in the background, Excel will do the ordering before it picks out the middle element. So we're going to select median, and again we have to select the range, click OK, and it says, aha, the median, the middle element, is 33. Now, to double check that, let's come over here and select this range again. And then I'm going to go to Data, Sort. And what I want to do is sort from smallest to largest. So I'll click on that, and eureka, it does the sorting immediately. All right, now, the median of a data set is the middle element in the set. And what we're looking at here is 18 pieces of data. That's an even number, so there actually isn't a middle. So the median is going to be the element that sits in between 9 and 10. Those would be the two middle elements. Is that right? Let's see, I think there should be. Oh, wait a minute, is it 10 and 11? We have 18, 8, 9 and 10, yeah. Between 9 and 10. And you can see that both of them are 33. So if it was 32 and 34, then 33, of course, would be the number in between. If it was 33 and 34, it would come up 33.5. All right, mode is the number that appears most often. Well, since we have it ordered now, we can actually glance down and see there are 4 22s, there are 4 33s, 3 34s. So what we have here is a multiple mode set. There actually are 2 modes. So I'm going to ask for the statistical formula for multiple modes. And here it is right here, mode.mult, mode.single. Now you won't always know, because the sets you're looking at are not always going to be ordered, so it's probably a good idea to select mode.mult. And then we have to give it all of the data. Okay. And notice it populates two cells here. It tells me that there are two modes, 22 and 33. Standard deviation, a measure of the average distance between each element in the set and the mean, the mean, the average. So the formula we want is standard deviation, STD. You will become familiar with these abbreviated names. Notice there actually are four of them here. The two we're going to focus on are standard deviation for the population, P, and standard deviation for a sample, S. Now, most of the time we're going to know if we're dealing with a sample or a population. We don't know, and we're just given a bunch of data here, so we can assume that this is a population. That's all the numbers we are even going to consider. And once again, we'll select the range, click OK, and it tells me the standard deviation is 20.68. Here's another function, variance, and again, there is a relationship between variance and standard deviation, which you're going to learn. And since we used population, we'll pick that one for variance also, var.p. Select the range, click OK. And the variance is a very large number. Turns out that the variance is actually the square of the standard deviation. You can kind of see that by looking at it. Max and min, formulas, more functions, statistical, scoot down to max. There it is. Range. Whoops. I didn't do that quite right. Let's start over again. I want all of these. So the max element is 99, which we can see because we've sorted it. There's also a formula for min if you're looking at a set that isn't already ordered. Excel will pick out the minimum element in any list that you give it. And of course that's 12. The range, I'm just going to put the formula in for range. The range is equal to, notice functions always begin with an equal sign. That's the signal to Excel that you're giving it a formula to calculate. And then I'm going to go up here and click on the cell that contains the max value. And if you're looking up at the formula bar at the top, you can see that I put in D10. Now what I wanted to do is subtract max minus min. So now I'll put a minus sign in, and then I'll click on the cell containing min, and look at the top, and you can see the formula built up there. Hit the enter key, and it does the subtraction. 87 would be the range, the distance between the smallest and the largest. Another thing you're going to work with in this unit is frequency table. Another way of setting up a data set is to, instead of listing the duplicate elements, is to set a frequency table up. So I've created a new one down here at the bottom. I called it Stuff X. And what I'm saying in here is that there are some 3s in the data set. There actually are 5 of them. The frequency, or the number of times that 3 appears in the data set, is 5 times. Likewise, there are 6s in the data set. The number of times the 6s appear is 3. So if I want the mean of this data set, instead of just expanding all of that, what I'm going to do is a little trick here. I'm going to first calculate the product of A23 and B23, which is 15. So if I actually had spelled out this list, I know that when I add all those 3s, I'm going to get 15. All right, now here's another little trick with Excel. I have a nice formula in that cell, and I want exactly the same formula in each of these. So I'm going to click and drag it down, and notice that it does all of the calculations correctly. And the reason it does is that Excel knows, as you drag down a column, that it's supposed to change the row numbers. This is row 24, the next one is row 25, row 26, and row 27. Okay, So now I know what the total of each of those groupings is. And I can find the average or the mean now by first of all calculating how many elements are in the set. That would be the sum right here. Okay, I'm just going to type in the formula sum because I know that that's the name of the function, but you can go up and pick it up too. Grab that range, close it, 18. So there are 18 elements in this data set. And I could just drag this formula over because I want the sum of this column too. The total of if I added all of the elements, I would get 134. And therefore, I know that the mean, the average of this data set is going to be equal to the total divided by the number of elements, C28 divided by B28. So the average or mean is 7.44. Okay, I'd like you to use Excel for all of your calculations, and it's kind of important to write down some notes too in your notebook so that you remember what these functions are that you're using. And when you do, usually on the discussion board, you're going to be working with some new Excel function each week. I would like you to upload the spreadsheet that you've used so that I can double check your calculations and make sure that you're not missing anything.